brand new Legend of the Five Rings podcast. I'm Monjonioso, and with me are Michael Hong, Paul Bernard, and Peter Meindertsma. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, cool.
You're good. I was expecting you to get it wrong, actually. Congratulations, sir.
So
first achievement of the night.
We're a brand new Legend of the Five Rings podcast. We're going to be focusing on the Legend of the Five Rings card game, storyline, and role-playing game. As this is our inaugural episode, we're going to kick it off by letting all of you get to know who we are. So, hi, Internet Land. My name is Monjonioso, as I already said, and I have run several tournaments in Austin, Texas for the past few years. I've competed in the Gen Con main event and second chance tournaments. My biggest tournament accomplishment is making top 8 at the 2012 Gen Con second chance tournament with Faceless Scorpion. I believe I was also top Scorpion, which was nice for that event anyway. My primary clans are Dragon and Mantis, but I occasionally fall into playing Crane because no one else likes playing Honor, so I do that.
Hi, I'm Paul Bernard, and I don't have nearly as cool accreditations in terms of winning tournaments or anything along those lines as mine.
I didn't say winning.
Whatever. Okay, fine. I didn't even have... Yeah. This implies that I like placed, which I didn't do, so yeah, I'm not going to even...
I think you're the local top Phoenix.
Yeah, that's because the other Phoenix doesn't play. So, we're just going to go with that. As you can guess, since people have discussed this, I play Phoenix pretty much that. I played Phoenix before it was cool. I played Phoenix when it was the Tier 2 deck, and the Tier 1 decks were kicking its ass.
So you're a Phoenix hipster? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, unfortunately. I'm going to try to change that in Ivory Edition, but until then, I've pretty much played Phoenix. I've played a couple other clans and be like, hey, this deck doesn't work at all. I'm going to go back to playing my Phoenix clan.
So I'm Michael Hong. I also do not have as much play experience, but some people who are familiar with the L5R may know me from various costume contests.
Mike had an excellent Akodo Kage last year, if you guys remember that costume.
And the year before that 2 years before that, I had an armored costume at Gen Con. Wasn't able to go this year, but that's another point. I've also run a lot of tournaments. I'm pretty much, along with Manji, the local tournament organizer, as well as having run this last year's Kote here in Austin. And I generally prefer to play Lion, but I also secondarily play Phoenix, and then only, unfortunately, very rarely do I get to play Crane. And they're all high honor clans, so my joke is always, what's a bamboo harvester?
All right. Peter Meindertsma. Compared to all these other guys, I'm pretty much the newbie of this entire group. I've only been playing L5R for maybe 2 years. Collectively, the RPG and the card game. Before I started playing with these guys, I played like 2 games, and so I'm up to 5 now. Something like that. But yeah, mainly a Scorpion player. Secondary, I'll go to Dragon, but those are pretty much the only 2 I really kind of like to go between. So I don't really have a third one like some of these guys do. But that's pretty much my my whole L5R stuff. Short and sweet. I don't have anywhere, not even near as much credentials as Paul here does. Paul, I think, has more credentials than I do as far as this game goes.
Well, credentialed or not, we're the crew. We do expect that the lineup will change a bit in the coming weeks. We look forward to bringing more seasoned veterans of the game onto the podcast for you guys to hear and listen to, and hopefully we can put together a show that you guys will enjoy as often as we can put these out. One of the things that gets asked a bunch locally is, what is your favorite arc? And most of our group started around the end of Samurai Edition, beginning of Celestial Edition, Though we do have a few players who've played
Much longer.
yeah. So I've been thinking about, what is the best sort of arc, or at least my favorite arc in the game's history. And I think that it's, you have to kind of sort of separate the story and the card game because for this kind of discussion, because oftentimes arcs that had great stories will have really not great cards, and vice versa. I think that the Emperor Edition storyline has been phenomenal. All credit to Sean Carmen and the rest of the story team. But I think our group, as well as many others in the Alderec community, have many very opinionated things to say about Emperor Edition, the cards. So, like I said, it's this question of what is your favorite arc. For me, going back and reading through the archives at kazenoshiro.com, and keep in mind for you older players, I started playing in about 2009, right around the release of Path of the Destroyer in Celestial Edition. And for me, going back and reading the Ree Sosby Hidden Emperor fictions was a complete blast. I think there's a special shout out for the death of Yoritomo. Like I said, I'm a Mantis player. I love that fiction to death. Ree had a way with the sort of big epic moments that it's hard to find elsewhere, and I really, really dug how that arc played out. I just got finished reading the Hidden Emperor source book for the role-playing game, and I understand that the stories in Hidden Emperor were not presented as clearly or concisely as they are in the source book, but I still think it's one of the more interesting arcs. Card-wise, it's really tough for me, and as some people know, recently myself and the rest of the Austin crew put out a list of cards to help people form a cube draft list, and we can put that in the description for this video if you guys are interested in checking that out. So I got to review basically every card that's been printed up through, I would say, what our Kote was June of this year.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, but we stopped editing like a couple of months before that. So
yeah, because then we needed to start getting.
Then we had to get all the cards and
tested and all that.
Yeah, so
I think, and I know I make unpopular decisions a lot of the time. I really liked a bunch of the cards in Lotus Edition. I really liked the Mantis pirate theme. I know it was broke. I can read the cards and know it was broke, but, I really liked the flavor feel of it. I really liked the flavor feel of ninjutsu for Scorpion. There were just a bunch of themes there that, regardless of if they were competitive or not, I really thought the game was trying a lot of interesting things in Lotus. Sure, a lot of them didn't work out, but I would say card-wise, it is probably my favorite, just to see all the stuff that was tried. Very shortly after that is the Imperial era cards, because I don't think any other arc can quite match Imperial for the flavor of the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get the easy one out of the way first. In terms of the amount I've played, the majority, and if I would have to say 95% of my play, has been in Emperor Edition. So, and a lot of the rest of it was in Celestial Edition, which basically involved me playing a couple of my friends' decks, and one of those friends' decks was a crab deck, and Celestial Crab. You can guess what exactly happened, and if you can't guess, well, his name was Kuan, and he was really annoying.
Turn to Hida Kuan.
So Emperor has been, I guess, what I would say would be my favorite in terms of cards, just because field of play. I have looked through older cards, partially because we were building various different things like the cube. Partially we've done a lot of Shiro Big Deck, and so I've gone through and looked at a lot of those. In terms of those cards, they seem to be interesting. I would like to see some of the things I'd like to just see, like, pop up and return, where because I mean, a lot of things have been sort of shoved off to one side. I'd really like to see a little more Blood Speakers and sort of that thing, because I mean, I haven't seen anything of that except for Suck the Marrow, and that's about it. And
well, you got the Shahai Celestial too.
Oh yeah, that's true. So there'd be some interesting different things. So there have been fun old cards and such and so forth, and in terms of storyline, one of the things that I've been really sort of impressed with in terms of what I've been reading through is at least for what I've read, most of the time when you're in the Four Winds, they're very good. One of the things that I've always had a problem with is that when you have an ensemble type thing like this is, where you have a bunch of, all of them are main characters, it's very easy to pick one or two people and make them the main characters to some extent. And really, I mean, not to give anybody like jizzes or downs or anything, but if you think about Scorpion Clan Coup, I think the two main characters, or maybe three main characters, are Chitauri, Kachiko, and Hattori. There are other characters, but they're not mains. The thing that I think I liked about the Four Winds is that from what I was reading, each person basically had their champion that was writing things about them that made them seem awesome and cool and or whatever. So it wasn't just this is the one person that the company wants to win, and these are the other people who are just there. It's like, so now I had cool stuff to do, and all the rest of them did. So that I like a lot. I haven't read a lot of the Ree's. I read Ree's stuff for Clan War, which I really liked a lot. I've met Rhea a couple of times, and she is actually really fun. And so those were pretty good as well. But pretty much in terms of story-wise, I think I'd have to say just sort of Era of the Four Winds. It had a different feel. I liked that a lot, and like I said, it did a really good job of balancing an ensemble cast type.
I think what's really remarkable about the Four Winds era is that, I've traveled around playing L5R. We've traveled to Oklahoma and Louisiana. I've traveled to Ohio, which is where I'm from. Shout out to the Art of War Games and Miniatures guys in Cincinnati. What I've noticed in talking with a bunch of old-time players is that the Gold Edition storyline, at least for a lot of folks, seems to be when L5R was played the most. I've also heard there was a lot of folks getting into it around the time of War of Spirits, when Wizards had the game. But I think that era, sort of Spirit Wars and Gold Edition, is where a lot of people consider to be the game's high watermark outside of Clan War.
So for me, I started a little earlier than these guys. I actually started at the end of Lotus, going into Samurai. Funnily enough, actually, I was originally playing the City of Heroes CCG that AEG produced. And then when that went under, a friend of mine introduced me to L5R, and that's how I got into the game. In terms of card arc, for me, personally, it was Samurai. Only because probably a bit of nostalgia, but I came in at the tail end of Lotus, and I saw a bunch of those decks, and I was scared pantsless. Because a lot of those decks, I was like, wait, did he just win in 3 turns? He just did. How do I get those cards? I can't get any of them because they're all promos and stuff, and things just got in the way. But I got into Samurai, had a lot of fun, had a group here, and it was enjoyable. The cards weren't the most amazing, but they were pretty good. There were a lot of cards like Few Against Many, Stay Your Blade, Draw Your Blade, all hallmarks. of course, you know, the personalities around that period of time, it was Fast and Furious because they had the Race for the Throne mega event going on and people were just getting killed left and right. I distinctly remember, I don't know if any of you guys remember, there was a lion guy named Akoto Hachigoro who was basically sneak attack on a stick. And one of the prizes of the Race for the Throne was you can assassinate enemy general. And everybody had a bullet, had a sniper marker on his head. Because he was sneak attack on a stick. It was reusable every single turn. And he was the first guy to die. So, it was...
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
It was fun times. And so that was for me the most memorable with a bunch of with the samurai arc. In terms of story, I'm probably going to cop out and have to say Day of Thunder. The second Day of Thunder. Just because the game was in its infancy, there was a lot of turmoil going around. I mean, if you look back at that sort of stuff, you could kind of sense that raw energy of this one position is completely open. You know, we don't know who's going to win. We don't know if, you know, somebody may turn against the rest of the group and, you know. And there was that sort of kind of raw, pervasive starting energy that really attracted me when I go back and read it again. And for a lot of people, it was, you know, the biggest story event. You know, we always look fondly upon it. We know the names of the Thunders themselves. And so, I mean, but that's for me, my favorite story arc, so.
Well, let's see. For me, when I came in, the actual story arcs were starting into the Destroyer War. And, the war itself hadn't actually happened yet, but it was doing all the build up, and so me being, you know, the Scorpion player that I am, I didn't even know what the Scorpion clan was at the beginning. I just kind of like read their I got a general description of what they are, and it's like, well, this is kind of like, you know, usually the kind of people that I play in other RPGs and MMOs and stuff like that. I mean, you know, I'm usually like the rogue type player and everything like that. And so, you know, I got to know that clan, and then I started reading the fictions during that, and so the point where they had written up to when I really started reading was, and this is still the thing that really sticks out in my mind, was when Paneki started to come down with the plague.
Yep.
And so, like, I kind of, like, read up to that point. And so, you know, Paneki was the first champion that I ever knew. So I had, like, you know, that, you know, I guess that virgin love type thing. I guess.
I don't know if that's necessarily appropriate, but let's go with this.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever.
And so, you know, I had that attachment to him. You know, he was the first champion that I knew of, and so I had that attachment. You know, I'll put it that way. And so, like, when I was reading all this stuff that was you know, happening to him, I was like, what's going on here? You know? And then, like, he goes in and he's like, all right, I forget the guy's name who was the guy, whoever he was going to make his second or whatever. I don't remember his name, but he's like, come, we're going to go into the woods. You're going to cut off my head, you know, kind of thing. And so, you know, he goes in, does his 3 cuts, and the guy hesitates for just a second before chopping off his head. And because he hesitates that 1 second, Paneki comes back as a zombie and just slaughters everybody. Mm-hmm. And that for me was like the most, like, the biggest thing has stuck out to me as far as like the fictions go, just because that was the biggest, like, the first major thing that I ever read about within the
Did you know
FMR
the story behind that? Like why Paneki died that way?
It was, from what I remember reading, wait, are you talking about within the actual, like, fictions themselves or within the card game?
Within the game. Why
The game overall, yeah.
I remember hearing about a few things.
Mike, you smiled. Do you want to do the...
Yeah, so basically a couple of years ago, during Celestial Edition...
I thought it was the end of Samurai. The vote.
Yeah, the vote occurred... Well, no, because we didn't get Hitakuwa on version 6 by that point.
I do remember hearing about it was a vote of like which champion.
Yeah,
die
so
or
basically, the vote came up at Gen Con, and it was everybody got to vote and choose a champion who would get the plague and die. And the votes were actually between, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Lion champion and Shigetoshi and Paneki, primarily because Kuon had XP 6. And he had already died by the time the vote had come up. He had done his final duty.
See, and I thought that the vote happened at the end of Samurai. It wasn't CE because we were there at that first Gen Con, and that's where the vote happened.
I think my memory's a little hazy right now. But anyway, so what happened is that Paneki got voted on not because people didn't like him, not because people didn't like the Scorpion Clan, but because he was XP 5 and was the next oldest card in line, and that's why people generally voted against him. They were like, okay, if they're going to kill him like they did Kuon, we want him to go, with a blaze of glory. So he gets to play.
And the story that I remember hearing was that it was part of the whole race for the throne votes at the end of Samurai. And apparently Paneki's carded version in Samurai Edition was terrible. And the Scorpion players really wanted to sort of clear Paneki out and see if they could get like a better champion.
So they got Natoshi after that, right?
The way it played out was, so they do this vote, Celestial Edition comes out, and Paneki has one of the stronger champion cards for very early Celestial Edition.
Because you said at the end of Samurai he was experienced 5 already?
At the end of Samurai he was experienced 4.
Oh, okay.
And then into Celestial Edition he was experienced 5. And they're like, oh wow, that card is really good, but they'd already voted to kill him. So the fiction comes out, and he's dead. And there is no, at that time, Natoshi is still very young. He went through the 25-year time jump between Celestial Edition and Emperor Edition. So it was...
Miyako.
Yeah. Toturi Miyako / Bayushi Miyako.
Right.
Daughter of Toku. Toku's the best friend.
Oh, that's right, because Miyako was Paneki's wife.
Correct.
And then,
she became clan regent.
Yeah, she became champion in place until that's right, because Natoshi was the son, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then, when Natoshi grows up, that's when he becomes champion.
Yeah.
It's all coming back to me now.
I think it was a prize in Race for the Throne as well. It was a temptation. But the reason Natoshi has Shoju's soul is that from something the Scorpion did, I forget.
They took a temptation during the Race for the Throne.
To redeem Shoju's soul, and he entered the karmic wheel, and his reincarnation is Natoshi.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of folks are sort of irked that he has the sociopath word and all that.
Well, yeah, not a lot of people were irked when he picked up Fallen in
Well, we still don't know if that's like canon or not.
But anyway, so back to the point. So, was that your favorite story and card arc, I guess?
Oh well, honestly, as far as cards go, like I said before, I really started playing with you guys. Like I had maybe 2 games under my belt. What's really funny, mentioning Samurai Edition and everything. The store that I went to, still sold God, I don't even know how old the cards were and everything like that. And so I was all like, I didn't know that they cycled out cards and everything like that. So I bought the pack, which was the Celestial Edition starter pack and everything like that, and then just a random slew of all the other packs and everything like that. And then I found out, I was like, oh yeah, all those cards that you just bought, and all those booster packs and everything like that. Yeah, you can't even use those. So I was all like, thanks for telling me, guys.
Well, with Big Deck back, that might have some value, so that's something.
Yeah, I got rid of all those cards already, because I was...
the fail.
Hey, I was moving, and I was like, you know what, I don't have room for cards.
Well, this is why you must be a pack rat in all things.
Well, I usually am a pack rat, but then I get to the point where it's all like, I need space.
Yep.
And then I was like, well, what don't I use? Oh, look, I've never played this card game except for twice. Shunk. So that was the end of my first run of playing the L5R card game. Then I had to drive to Tulsa if I wanted to play anybody at the time.
I mean, it's not like Texas doesn't have some drives to go anywhere. For those who don't know, we're all in Austin, Texas, which is about sort of the southern center of the state. We're not like really far south, but we're not.
We're almost smack dab in the middle, just a little further south than smack dab.
And the two other sort of large play centers for L5R are San Antonio, which is an hour and a half drive, and Dallas.
In traffic.
Well, San Antonio in traffic is like 3, so...
You do have the 130 that goes almost all the way down to San Antonio. That actually makes it a
and
really...
I've heard the toll road isn't bad.
I think that is the 130.
that's the 130.
I don't take it, so I don't...
Yeah, it's pretty good. People usually do not go on there. It's great if you're trying to get back and forth.
We were going to San Antonio for one of their events. I think this was last year, and we left about 3:30 or 4 o'clock.
Yes, I remember.
And you didn't get there till 7.
Yeah,
God.
But that was because you fought traffic. You left on a Friday.
Yeah.
It was a Friday.
This
I mean,
is
they
bad.
were out the bar on a Friday. What am I supposed to do?
This was a terrible idea.
What am I
Because you had to fight traffic going out of Austin and then go traffic going into San Antonio. But
And
anyway,
it was like
so
a massive rainstorm, and it was awful.
stupid.
So
And then-
you leave during the first part of rush hour traffic, and then when you get to San Antonio, you hit the second part of rush hour traffic.
I will take San Antonio rush any day of the week over Dallas rush.
Driving through Fort Worth, that was hilarious.
Fort Worth's not
which is about a 3-hour drive from here.
Yeah. So it's definitely weird. It's definitely a sort of strange L5R community we have here because we are so spread out. The drives that most folks would do that would take you to another state. You're still in Texas.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, that's weird for people who don't come from the West Coast where the states go on for goddamn ever, but...
And then, of course, there's also Houston's another major city, but that's also another 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
So,
it's slightly
2.
longer than Dallas. It's like 3.5.
depending.
It's roughly the same
I've driven to
distance.
Houston a ridiculous number of times. It's not even remotely feels as long as Dallas.
Anyway, I'm going to bring the Texas tangent to an end here.
Sure.
There are multiple major cities in Texas that play L5R.
Yes.
That's what we were getting to.
And
But they're all multi-hours away.
yes. Well, anyway.
Moving along. We are no longer in Texas geography. Go. Speak.
One of the things that I think trips up folks, especially the folks who've been playing the game for a long time, is this question of what is your favorite card. I think it's actually easier, at least for me, it's easier to answer this question for cards like Versus System or Magic, where the cards are relatively speaking simpler than it is for L5R. So, this is another thing that I think, can sort of let you guys know more about us. So, my favorite card is... I actually think it's the original Egg of Panko. I really... I'm a big flavor guy, though I do not like losing. I am competitive. Decks have been thrown, but it's really for me the flavor that makes a game, and one of the things L5R does better than most any other game is the flavor. So all that being said, it's probably between 3 different cards. The first card has almost no flavor, but he has a great quote, and he appeared in one fiction, and he was amazing. And he influenced me so much because I encountered him very early on in my sort of L5R playing life that I've made RPG characters. following this guy and a bunch of other stuff, and that is Togashi Taro. Togashi Taro is a blank 5 gold, 3 force Dragon Clan monk from, I want to say, Celestial Edition base.
Yeah.
He is really unremarkable, but like he introduced this concept of the doctrine of confrontation, and then in the one story he goes and just single-handedly obliterates a Yobanjin army during the whole War of Darkfire, and I was sold on that guy immediately. And he never appeared again. And I was very sad because I can't win tournaments and name him, so that's on me.
No. What the hell, Maji?
Right?
Well, maybe you can take that Kensai deck that you made that's just completely disgusting and win some tournaments.
Not fucking likely. Because I think that most anybody worth their salt has seen that deck and is working up ways to make me sad. I expect to be very sad at the next tournament when I bring that out. My number 2 card is the Dragon Sword is Broken. I really love the Clan War arc. I mean, I think it's phenomenal. I love so many of the cards in Clan War. I think there's a kind of primal energy there that is really fantastic. And I think that card really encapsulates a perfect melding of storyline flavor and card effect. Just the ability to kill all the ancestral swords. And okay, well, why did he kill the ancestral sword? Well, because Yakumo broke, Miyamoto's sword. That's awesome.
Bastard.
Hida Yakumo, the dirtiest player in the game. And then my third is, and this is a card that I saw in Emperor Edition and my jaw hit the floor. And I think it's maybe flat out the best Mantis Clan champion ever printed, which makes me sad because I don't think his storyline is as good as, say, Yoritomo or Kumiko. But Yoritomo Hiromi, the Emperor Edition champion, is great, and I love it. And I love that the sort of ability for Thunder in Emperor, which is that negation doesn't work against Thunder, is sort of carried through from him onto the Thunder Dragon that came out in Seeds of Decay. He's a great card. He's in my big deck because I couldn't come up with a reason not to. I think he's stellar, and much though I am a huge Yoritomo fanboy, as is I think every Mantis player.
Really? I don't think I noticed that.
It's a little bit. It's subtle.
I don't think you've made it clear enough how much you love the Mantis.
So Yoritomo never got a card like Hiromi, and it would have been sweet if he did.
In terms of favorite cards, I sort of have I have a top 3 as well. I'm sure probably everyone now is going to have a top 3 because people have top 3s, but and most of my experience is going to be Emperor, so you're going to find out, hey, most of these are Emperor cards. In fact, I think all of them are Emperor cards. My 3 are based sort of on a triumvirate of a card that I just love to put out and play and watch people become very sad. Just because it fills me with a little bit of joy, just a touch. And that's Strength of Tsunami, which is this stupid goddamn broken card. It's so fun to just drop that on the ground on any water Shugenja, any of them, even like the 2 force. 4 gold, just cheap water Shugenja, you drop that on them and just like, hi, I break provinces.
Battle, target opponent becomes sad.
And so just in terms of that, and yeah, it's like the core of the Phoenix deck, and yes, I know, and I don't care. It's hilarious and fun. In terms of that. In terms of a card that I love for its story, again, this is straight from the Phoenix decks, is I love Asawa Shinshuko. because the story behind her, she's had a couple of the little tiny blurb stories from not this year's Kote, but last Kote. But the story behind her is so much of what I feel is the Phoenix Clan. I got into the Phoenix Clan because I, as a person, read through their philosophy and went, oh my god, these people are me. Every single time and in every single way, I'm like, I see something and I'm like, well, let me go and study this a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper, and then I go way beyond anybody else who gives a crap, and I'm like talking about it and everyone's like, just shut up, I don't care. And Shinsuke...
This is what I feel like when you talk about your football team.
Yeah. And so the Shinsuke is that about the colonies. Her storyline, or at least her initial storyline, is she is deeply wants to go to the colonies because she wants to find all of the cool stuff there and see it. And she's had some terrible things happen to her, apparently, because she's stuck her nose where she doesn't belong. But she's still game about like doing that, and that's just sort of classic. So I like Shinsuke for her story. And then for just the moment I read the card, I started laughing my ass off. It has to be Hante the 16th in Coils, because I was just like, you know the story, and you read the one quote, and you're just like, oh my god. And you just start laughing. Because it's like, please, just stay still so we can stab you to death.
That's really a great combination of flavor and art. And definitely kudos to whomever wrote that flavor text, because it just nails it.
So, Mike here, I only have two, actually. I thought about this ahead of time, and I divided it actually into my favorite strategy and my favorite personality. And my favorite strategy that I've run into, actually, in my opinion, has to be unexpected intimidation. Again, a nice combination of the art of little Poku, non-experienced version, yelling at a bunch of samurai, and of course they have no idea how to deal with this guy who's yelling at them. And then, of course, then you get into the card effects, and it is a complicated card, but I just found it hilarious because if it tries to bow you, then it tries to send you home, and then if it, barring all of that, it destroys you outright. And it's hilarious because it was basically the counter to the last one, which was just basically a counter to that.
Dude at the Cibolo Kote in 2010. I had a Mantis Last One deck at the time. For those who don't recall, it was basically sort of a fun deck. Just buy a bunch of cheap guys, murder them all to the last one, load up the last one unit, and crush your opponent because they can't do that unit. There were two answers, and no one ran these answers. Or so I thought.
Yeah.
And I think it's round 2. It's round 2 of the Cibolo Kote, and I have a last one unit. It's like 30-something force. I have a handful of kill actions. He poses me with 2 guys. I naval kill one of his dudes, and he plays Preserving Honor. And I go, no.
Yeah, the answer to your deck.
Because what Preserving Honor did was it moves you home, and if this movement is negated, you're removed from the game. And L5R has a wonderful rule that says whenever a card leaves play, any cards attached to it go to the same place. So if your die is destroyed, it goes to the discard pile, its attachments go to the discard pile. But it also means that if your guy is removed from the game, his attachments are also removed from the game.
Yep. So, again.
So thanks, Mike. Thanks for dredging up
terrible
Dang for me.
Hey. So while we're on that, I got two words for you. Sneak courage. Moving on. That'll be a story for another time. So moving on. Well, my favorite. There we go. My favorite personality card actually is not actually any of the champions. It's actually Matsu Bunika, base from End of Lotus into Samurai. She wasn't that great of a personality. She didn't have any of the keywords like tactician or anything like that, but she was the Matsu Beastmaster, and she had a handy little ability that basically said limited, pay 2 gold, attach a 1 force cat token to a personality. Because she was non-unique, you could have 3 copies of her, and she would just be handing out cats. So the crazy old cat lady. This was used in combination with Shigetoshi XP2, who also came out at the end of Lotus, who basically said all your tacticians have the ability to destroy a follower or themselves, and then destroy an opposing card without attachments, which basically made the crazy old cat lady into the crazy old cat bomber. But anyway, so that's my favorite card, basically for nostalgia purposes.
Shigetoji's hurling lions.
Oh no, he gave all tacticians
javelins.
Yeah, and then they blew up.
Here's a little kitty.
Boom. Yep. And that was the basis of the deck back then.
Oh my god.
Nice trip down memory lane.
Terrible memories.
Yep.
Oh, that's great.
Peter, come on.
I don't have any favorite cards.
How can you not have favorite cards?
Okay. I mean, literally, when I was thinking about favorite cards, it was just, you get this card either in your hand or flipped up and you smile. Uh-huh. For whatever reason, because it's going to be there, because the combo's really nice, whatever.
Let's see.
You could just cop out and say Bayushi Kachiko Thunder. Here you go. It's every Scorpion's favorite card.
Well, yeah.
Except I've never seen or used that card, so I don't know it.
Oh my god.
Well,
I can still count the amount of games I've played on both hands.
again, welcome to the newbies. He's not going to have the huge, depth of field. I mean, I named 3 Emperor cards, so, I mean, same difference.
Yeah, and I did two. Well, Unexpected was Samurai, yeah, so.
And Slash.
Yeah, I got reprinted.
Okay, I do like the combo that you can use with Nitoshi and I forget the throwaway guy. What his name is?
Hiranai. Usually Hiranai.
Yeah, pay 2 gold, free if you're a Scorpion player, pretty much. You just throw 3 of those guys out. Nitoshi experienced 1.
Oh, you're talking about Rezu, not Hiranai.
Yeah, Rezu, because Rezu literally has the picture of Nitoshi backstabbing him.
Right.
Well, are you talking about Nitoshi base or
XP1.
Nitoshi from Coils of Madness?
XP1.
He said XP1.
Because that's Coils of Madness.
Yeah, because Nitoshi base
Nitoshi,
is...
I thought that was
Nitoshi
XP2.
Nitoshi has 3 versions. He has base versions, came out in Emperor Edition.
Mm-hmm.
In Honor and Treachery, he was inexperienced. And in Coils of Madness, he hit his first XP level as Fallen.
Oh, okay. So he's base.
Okay, yeah, but anyway, kill your own guy, blame someone else. Then next turn you can kill that guy because he's blamed for killing one of your guys.
Yep. Because he's a sociopath.
He had less fun.
I will say one of the very good things about Emperor Edition, I feel, is that the champions, for the most part, have a lot of flavor and feel really good when they hit the table.
I'd like to see some flavor for the Phoenix champion.
What? She's straightens and goes to battle.
Right, she's strange. She goes to battle and
Murders
does this.
somebody.
She dances around and she murders somebody, and then you look at her in fiction, and
She's appeared in fictions in Emperor?
Honor and
Yes.
Treachery.
Well, not only in Honor and Treachery, she appeared in Honor and Treachery.
Doesn't count.
And she also appeared in Torn Asunder because she was telling everybody how to tell the Empress what was happening in the colonies.
Okay.
So her entire appearance is, why don't you shut up and let people talk? I'd like to see a little more about her because
She's your champion and
not only that, but she dances around. She leaps literally from valley to valley while blind as a bat. I mean, come on. You have the Daredevil factor. Do something with it.
Well, she's probably not making it out of Emperor.
I'm sure she probably isn't, but whatever.
Is she a Rokugani lawyer?
Wait, what?
Daredevil.
Oh, very good point. Okay.
You're the one who makes the reference and you don't even get the joke?
Whatever. It's this implies that I actually notice what things are going by, and I'm terrible at that. Because I'm too focused on something else. So
I wanna wrap up our first podcast here with a discussion on what do we think of Emperor Edition. Emperor Edition is, I think, one of the most controversial arcs in the game's history. A lot of people compare it to Lotus Edition, which saw a pretty big fall off in players and is usually not well regarded. I definitely think that Emperor Edition, as we move ahead, might fall into that same boat. But we've been playing this now for 2 years. We've gone to Kote's, we've gone to Gen Con, we've
run Kote's.
Stupid Chi-Death decks that made us
You're the one who's just built that thing.
Turn 2 Lion Blitz.
Yeah, that too.
So
The list goes on and on. Yes.
So what do you guys think of Emperor Edition?
Emperor Edition, as an edition. Coming from the place where pretty much it's what I've played, except for, as I said, a couple of games of Celestial. I think the best way that I can just go back and think of my way through Emperor Edition is when I was building my big deck. And when I'm building my big deck, I'm putting cards in from various different things. And if I was I need a card that will blow something up like a bazooka. And here we go, Emperor Edition card. That's kind of what I was feeling about it. It had there were some moments where it's this card comes out and you can just basically see the players just going metal explosions behind the card. There were some times when it was I think the other thing that I would say about Emperor Edition is that there's a little bit of we release something and it would get banned, and then 2 sets later we get another version that does almost the same thing, and I'm like, didn't we ban this card? Please, could you not? Oh god. And it explodes all over the face again. So
Like a bad porno.
Yeah, a little bit. So I
Not PG, this podcast.
Well, we haven't totally sweared multiple times. A few. Okay, fine.
Don't
whatever.
tempt us.
So I would have to say
That's how we'll end every podcast. Is we'll all get Tourette's for the last minute.
last minute just start swearing out of the store. No, but I would have to say that if I were to describe Emperor Edition, it would be the giant bazooka, and when somebody picks up the rocket launcher, it starts becoming a lot less fun for all the other people.
So, before I get into my own rendition of this argument, would be the number of times that Manji and I have sat down over dinner, over playing cards, and discussed this topic many times. So, I would actually play the opposing side. Many people will look upon this arc as the most controversial and the most imbalanced, and there's a large ban list, and there's always, this one deck that's winning everything. But I'm going to play devil's advocate and actually say that Emperor has been particularly balanced. Now, most of you are looking at me going, wait, what? But, yeah, how does that make any sense? But if you look back at the beginning of Emperor, and so, yes, the sets afterwards kind of slowly started a slow descent towards madness, which we ended up in, actually. The base set was actually pretty well balanced. You had during the very early part of Emperor Edition, when Kolad Edition came out, the preview version, Kensai were wrecking the field, but
There's that sick unicorn deck that Jace had for 2.5 months.
the Battle Maiden Paragon deck that.
No, it was the Yuchi water.
Oh yeah, the water deck. That was the precursor. It was a precursor to the Phoenix, the big spell deck that came out in Emperor. But if you look at Emperor base, the fact that they had so many themes for all of the clans, the fact that most of them worked in some form or fashion. You had the Kitsu honor for the lion, for the dragon. You had the Kensei for the crab. You had the berserkers, and eventually dishonor for For the Mantis, you had KL, Band KL, now...
What?
Kitsune, to be perfectly fair, has made several top 8s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just got a bunch of cards that will make it totally not in any way
So
fair.
again, Mantis have decks. Phoenix, of course, have Big Spell deck, and they had the Chi Death deck. The Scorpion have had Dishonor, the Military Dishonor deck. The Parajimbos, which was the Yojimbo Paragons, was a big thing for a short while.
San Antonio, complete non sequitur here, calls that the Jimbako deck for reasons that I don't think anyone will ever understand. Continue, Mike.
And then for the Spider, you had the short-lived Ninja deck, which won the one Kote.
They also had that Spider Honor deck.
Yep, that won Spain.
Wait, Spider Honor?
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's
Too
another
long
story.
for the tail end of a podcast, but let's just say, totally broken chain cycle.
And the Unicorn had the Battle Maiden Paragon deck, and
They had their own Tactagon deck. They had the Water Shugenja deck, which if it had kept getting good personalities would have probably been, I think, a force in the
and then now, not to mention that even the Unaligned got good decks. The Forgotten Temple was a very big deck at the end. And now you have the Journey's End Keep Experienced, which meant the Imperial deck. Now, yeah, we're all groaning at these, but the thing is, if you look at it overall, everybody, well, maybe except for Ronin, have had a deck.
And I'll acknowledge this and all those sorts of things. I mean, it wasn't necessarily like what I was saying with the bazooka is that it doesn't have a lot of variety. It's just that it's the big guns. But yeah, no, a lot of variety does help. I mean, I've heard terror stories of everybody and their brother-in-law running Breeder because that was the only thing that did anything. Because we had the one deck that beat Breeder. So
I completely forgot to mention, Lion had turn 2 Blitz Lion and the Kitsu Honor deck. So
And their Tactagon deck won Gen Con last year.
yep. So
Funny note, as far as I'm aware, the only 2 Forgotten Temple decks that placed in Kote Season 2013 were both from Austin. So if you guys ducked having to face Gozaru no Oni win the game, that was a much better season than what we had to play against Ugly.
Oh, but did you have anything to add in on this?
You are the
Peter?
newest player, Peter.
Yeah, I mean...
You got to see Kensai, and I understand that was a little traumatic.
Yeah, I'm still having a little shell shock over that. And I've been going to therapy. It's they think I'm ready to go back into the world after that.
Hey Peter, Wormbold Katana.
That was disgusting.
well, yeah, no. Yeah. Why do you think I was like, you really want to get copies of this card? Because no matter what you're doing, if you're doing it with large weapons, you need this card. And I was like, why do I need it? Here we go.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what clan you are, you want one of these katanas because they will just basically murder things straight in the face.
And then I put 3 in.
But anyway, so with that, we need to send Peter back to therapy.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening to the first episode. We hope that you've enjoyed it. Feel free to comment either here or on